in 11 seconds. Sold! And you kind of nestle down into it. You're like, this feels really good. I could just spend all night here. That's scary to me. It's very scary to me. Because old people start to justify that. They do. Well, I put in my time, get my 65 years or 62 years or whatever, and now I do couch time. Especially by a lake or a sea, wherever it is. There was in our kitchen, and now it's in my study, so it's very old, a plaque, green glass, painted, only one life 'twill soon be past, only what's done for Christ will last. Hung there over the sink all my growing up years. Only what's done for Christ will last, only what's done for Christ will last. Now it's up over the window just to my right, to the right of my desk, still reminding me. I have a fear of wasting my life, and I have a passion that my life count. Now there's a massive assumption behind that fear and that passion. A massive assumption. I need to state it, clarify it, maybe put just a little bit underneath it, but I'm just going to call it an assumption, and you may or may not share it. The assumption is this: there is a reason, a purpose, a why to your life that you did not create, but was given to you sovereignly. There is a reason or a purpose or a why for your life you did not create. Now that's a huge assumption. So I went off to college, Wheaton College, and these are 64 to 68 are my college days. These are radical years, right? Miniskirts, armbands, bare feet, marching in the streets, anti-war, pro-racial justice. These were mega significant years. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. Existentialism, that was the red hot thing then. Camus, Sartre, Nietzsche, God is Dead. April 8, 1966, cover of Time magazine, Is God Dead? Interviews with Altizer, who I heard John Warwick Montgomery debate at the University of Chicago. Is God dead? The meaning of Is God Dead was, has He become so absolutely and totally unthinkable as a reality and irrelevant as a reality that He makes zero difference in determining what wasted lives are? Now, so here I am, I'm a lit major, I'm discovering thinking and literature and philosophy and anthropology and history, and everything's exploding. I love those days. And I couldn't buy it. I couldn't buy existentialism. Here's the key phrase to define what existentialism was. It's just another form of postmodernism. If you know that phrase, then there's a lot of overlap. Existentialism said existence before essence. Existence is where you get the word existentialism. Existencism. Existence before essence. Meaning, there is no ultimate reality. There is no objective, firm reality outside of yourself defining your essence, which you should bring your existence into conformity with to find meaning. See that pattern? That's historic Christian pattern. There is a reality outside of you. It defines your essence. To find your meaning in life and not waste it, you bring your existence into conformity to the given essence, defined by God. Now, existentialism turned that totally around and said there isn't any of that out there. It's all in here. You create your own existence and thus project the essence that is. And that's what people believe today by and large, too. I couldn't buy it. It all went hand in hand with naturalistic evolution. And the reason I couldn't buy it is because in my darkest and my happiest hours, my joy, my sorrow, my anger, my indignation, I could not reduce to chemicals on a par with a spider's instinct to build a beautiful web. I couldn't. There were low moments when I tried. Be brave, be radical, be an unbeliever. And I would look at the implications of it for the meaning of the human being. And it became so absolutely absurd. The theater of the absurd became so absurd, I just was protected. It was grace. I was protected from it. Even the most difficult problems affected me upside down from the way they affected so many of my throw-it-all-away peers. For example, the problem of evil, the problem of suffering. Bart Ehrman, professor at the University of North Carolina, has written numerous books recently. He's not a believer. He went to Wheaton College with me. Not with me, but after me. Went to Moody Bible Institute. Then went to Princeton Seminary, became a pastor, and then he threw it all away. And now he's writing books to persuade the rest of us to join him in his courage to throw it all away. One of them, the most recent one, is called God's Problem. I wrote down the subtitle. There it is. How the Bible fails to answer our most important question, why we suffer. It's got over 200 pages on the failure of the Bible to answer that question. Now, so here I am as a 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old looking existentialism in the face, saying there's no meaning out there, there's no objective reality, there's nothing out there that defines your existence and gives it to you and you conform with it. You are totally, frighteningly free because you are just part of an endless spiral of evolutionary forces of matter and energy and time becoming whatever that wills. And I looked at that and I thought, that's true. What becomes of evil? So here you're contemplating the Holocaust and the horrors, the absolute unspeakable horrors of man doing to man. And you watch some people look at those horrors and throw God away and say, there cannot be a God in view of those horrors. And then you watch another kind of person. This is what happened to me. Who looked at those and everything in you said, wrong, evil, wicked, unjust. And then it hits you. Those words have no meaning at all if I am a collection of chemicals. None. It's like a headache. Your moral outrage at the injustices you see in the world is a headache. Get over it. If they're not rooted in something besides the synapses of your brain. So you see, there was no way out for me. God had me trapped. Everywhere I looked, I saw, you can't let him go. If you let him go, you don't buy anything that works. There was nothing to be preferred. And so I was shut up to Jesus. So as I come to you and I'm asking, what is the wasted life? Or what is the unwasted life? From early on, for me it was 6. It was settled. That will be dictated for me from outside. I won't make it up. I won't make it up. I tried to think you could make up things and be more free and more real and more authentic and have more meaning, and it all collapsed like a house of cards. I will be defined by absolute reality. For me, I will be defined by Jesus Christ, His Father, the Spirit, the Word of God. And today, as I've year after year, decade after decade, revisited the ground and the foundation of that, I've never been able to shake Him loose. Jesus Christ won me over. The Apostle Paul won me over. I came to trust the Apostle Paul. This may sound strange to you to come at Christianity this way. Paul wrote, 13 letters. I read them as a child and then teenager and college student hundreds of times. Romans, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus. I read them hundreds of times. And then he said things like this. By Him, by Christ, all things were created. In heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things were created through Him and for Him. And He is before all things. And you just reel back. Paul, Jesus Christ created the universe, and He created it for Himself. Yes. Now, you just have to decide at that moment, is this guy wacko? Is he a lunatic? Is he deceived? Or is he a Christ-encountering, authorized truth-teller about ultimate reality? You know, you've read C.S. Lewis and the other authors who use the argument liar, lunatic, or Lord. Ever heard that argument, liar, lunatic? It's an excellent argument, I think. Jesus is either a liar, or He's a lunatic, or He's who He says He is, He's the Lord. I used it for Paul. It just worked for Paul. And it was more intimate for me for Paul. He's a liar, He's a lunatic, or He's an authorized apostle. I cannot read Romans and say, that's a lunatic. I can't read Colossians. I can't read 2 Corinthians. And say, this man's lost his marbles. There's nobody more real than the Apostle Paul besides Jesus Christ. I have never read anybody like the Apostle Paul. He wins me. I mean, how are you going to decide what happened 2,000 years ago? You weren't there, and neither was any video team. All you've got is witnesses, more or less close, whose documents were handed down. You're just going to totally throw up your hands on the most important matters in the world. No, you're not. You're going to take these documents, like 13 letters, half of them, the most liberal scholars in the world think Paul wrote. So let's just take that half. Okay? Romans and Galatians. Leave it at that. Everybody on the planet thinks Paul wrote Romans and Galatians. And then you got to decide, is this witness the witness of a fool? Liar, deceiver. I couldn't go there. And then I turned to Jesus, and He says things like, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. And, Lewis said, either he is, or he thinks he's a poached egg. He's like a lunatic who's going around the neighborhood saying, I'm a poached egg.